All right, it looks like everyone's here. Welcome entering class of 2020. I'm Christina Mulligan, a professor here at Brooklyn Law School and your vice dean, and this is our convocation ceremony to kick off the school year. As we often do, we'll be introducing you to Brooklyn Law School by introducing you to some key members of our community, a member of our faculty, one of our incredible alums, and our dean. Our faculty speaker is Frank Pasquale. Professor Pasquale is a noted expert on the law of artificial intelligence, algorithms, and machine learning. He's a prolific and nationally recognized scholar whose work focuses on how information is used across a number of areas, including health law, commerce, and tech. His wide-ranging expertise encompasses the study of technological advances and the unintended consequences of the interaction of privacy law, intellectual property, and antitrust law, as well as the power of private sector intermediaries to influence healthcare and education and finance policy. His book, The Black Box Society, The Secret Algorithms That Control Money and Information, has been recognized internationally as a landmark study in how big data affects our lives. His forthcoming book, The New Laws of Robotics, and a volume on artificial intelligence he co-edited, the Oxford Handbook on the Ethics of Artificial Intelligence, will both be released next year. He is one of the leaders of a global movement for algorithmic accountability. In media and communication studies, he has developed a comprehensive legal analysis of barriers to and opportunities for regulation of internet platforms. In privacy law and surveillance, his work is among the leading research on regulation of algorithmic ranking, scoring, and sorting systems, including credit scoring and threat scoring. Professor Pasquale.
Thanks so much, Christina. It's fantastic to be here. I'm really honored to give this address and grateful for your very kind introduction. And I give this address for one main reason, that this will be for me, like you, my first year at Brooklyn Law School. I've taught at Seton Hall, at Yale, and at Maryland before coming to Brooklyn. And I'm thrilled to have the chance to teach here with an amazing faculty, dedicated staff, and in one of the most vibrant, intellectual, and diverse cities in the world. So this should be a time of new beginnings and celebration for all of us. You are beginning a journey into a global profession, one that has been a bulwark against petty tyrants, cheaters, and all those who by force or fraud seek to take what is not theirs. The law is a foundation for many noble endeavors and innovation. And I can think of so many of my former students who have found exciting, meaningful work in law, and we hope to help you join their ranks. But I also think we have to acknowledge the time we live in and what it means to be a lawyer in such a time. COVID has been a tragedy around the world, but it feels like a particularly scandalous and unnecessary tragedy in the United States, where we've been losing so many persons due to entirely preventable illness. We have some of the best scientists, epidemiologists, and healthcare facilities in the world. We have the purchasing power to buy PPE for everyone, or to use the Defense Production Act to build the plants to make it, and yet we still see case after case of someone getting COVID because they lack that PPE. We see China build a hospital in 10 days to quickly diffuse the outbreak in Wuhan, while sometimes it seems like local authorities can't fix sidewalks in less than 10 months. And looking over this situation and many similar ones like it in the United States, I have to say that we don't lack finances or technology, the two leading industries in this country. What we lack is good law, enforcement of existing law, and respect for expertise. We lack fair terms of social cooperation, and sometimes we even lack trusted institutions that can ensure free and fair elections. Much as the US did in 1932, we stand at a crossroads where much of our law and policy must be fundamentally rebuilt, and proven structures of the past must be better known and invigorated. That's where law school comes in. As I argued in my 2015 article, Synergy and Tradition, law school is designed to bring together theory and practice. You will find among your professors here at Brooklyn Law some of the finest thinkers on the future of law and some of the most inspiring and instructive practitioners. The point of law being a profession, rather than a job or occupation, is that we systematically commit ourselves to thinking about what we've done in the past, how we could do it better, and what it even means to do it better. Our rough and ready motto is, it could be otherwise. And as we face an increasingly broken world, the idea that it could be otherwise is a foundation for hope. I hope that not just our collective experience, but also your personal experience will be a lodestar for you as you begin your studies. I was in law school about 20 years ago, and I remember vividly the stresses one can experience during it. Near the beginning of my second year, my mother was long hospitalized for cancer, and my father, in a rush to visit her one very cold morning, slipped on some black ice, broke his leg, and there were lots of complications and a long hospitalization after that. A lot of the time that many students spent studying or working, I was shuttling back and forth between my apartment and them, trying to make sure they could qualify for the Social Security disability benefits that were the only thing standing between them and bankruptcy. I did not want them to lose the small house they purchased only a year before. Eventually, my mother did have to sell the house to help pay for a long series of medical bills. And as I was helping her make her way through the insurance system, a maze of coverage denials and appeals and counter appeals and all the rest, that inspired me to write and research in health law, a field I still work in, and to do advisory services I do currently for the Department of Health and Human Services. What I learned was both that the legal infrastructure of the American healthcare system is incredibly complex and inefficient, and that a good health lawyer has to learn its ins and outs regardless, because that's what it takes to be an advocate now. It's hard to build a better future unless you know the guts of its current labyrinthine reality. And knowing that reality helped me advocate for my mother and for disabled persons who were caught in endless appeals when I worked for a clinic, and for a pharmaceutical company whose drugs help the blind when I worked for a firm in DC. In law school, we explore the real problems of real people, as a doctor in training might attend a surgery. We advance solutions in both our larger classes, our seminars, our clinics, and we propose new laws or better interpretations of current laws, as you'll be asked to do, especially after your first year. We help clients interpret the law in their favor using both classic lawyerly tools of interpretation and broader arguments from social science. We learn how technology is changing the law and how law should change and channel the practice of technologists. I think you will find that inquiry both exciting and exhausting, fascinating and frustrating, a feast of intellectual inquiry, and sometimes a grim task of rote memorization. Part of our job as professors is to make sure the former qualities outweigh the latter by a large margin. But if you aren't feeling somewhat out of sorts at least sometime here, you may want to push a bit harder. For as in so much else, what you give is what you get. And I'd also say that if it's feeling overwhelming, also it's a time to reach out to your professors, to the administration and others. We really want to make sure this is an optimal experience for everybody. What we as faculty promise in return is that we will give you an understanding of law's complexity and also its points of clarity. We will serve as both mentors and teachers, guiding you through the labyrinth of law and giving you the chance to explore on your own. We want to help you bring your passions to the law, what most motivated you in college and career before law school. And we will share our deepest interests in social justice, legal advocacy, and legal research with you. And in thinking about the students I've worked with already at Brooklyn Law, because I've worked with several research assistants this summer on health data issues, I have to say it's such a great experience. Rarely have I met such a dedicated, insightful, and intelligent group of lawyers in training. And my main takeaway from my experience in working with my RAs this summer was, get to know your classmates. I know it may be hard given the circumstances, but I hope everyone is up for new forms of digital sociality to supplement, if not replace, the real. This is a year of great adjustment for everyone, and I thank you for trusting us to guide you through the labyrinth of law. Please let us know how we can make your journey better, more illuminating, more meaningful, and more intellectually engaging. We will serve as your guides so you can better guide others. Good luck on your studies, and I hope to see you in one of my classes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. Our next speaker is one of our alums, Erica Lorchbow. Erica is the Deputy Policy Director at the New York Civil Liberties Union. There, Erica helps coordinate the NYCLU's legislative campaigns and responses to state and local policy choices implicating New Yorkers' civil rights and civil liberties. In the current legislative session, the NYCLU has seen the passage of more than 20 key legislative priorities spanning areas such as criminal system reform, voting rights, police accountability, reproductive rights, economic justice, freedom of expression, and the rights of immigrants. Prior to working at the NYCLU, Erica worked at the Legal Aid Society, where she specialized in parole advocacy proceedings and criminal justice law reform. In addition to more than a decade of organizing and political activism, she has advanced LGBTQ civil rights as a litigation fellow with Lambda Legal, presided over landlord-tenant conciliation as a judicial clerk in the New York City Housing Court, and fought to remedy discrimination and due process violations as a fellow with Legal Services NYC. Erica completed her undergraduate studies in psychology and public policy at UCLA and the Luskin School of Public Affairs, and received her JD from Brooklyn Law School in 2012. In addition to the numerous public interest awards and legal fellowships, she has been honored as a rising star by the Brooklyn Law School Alumni Association and was named one of the best LGBTQ lawyers under 40 by the National LGBT Bar Association. Erica?
Thank you so much for the introduction. Good evening to everyone. As a proud 2012 graduate of Brooklyn Law School, it's my absolute honor and my pleasure to offer words of welcome to you as the incoming class. We may not know each other yet, but I have to say, I feel really proud of each of you for choosing to embark on something new, something that's big and bold in these most uncertain times. I'm sure you all chose Brooklyn Law School for some combination of different reasons. Maybe some like its world-class faculty, its diversity and legacy of public service, its thriving alumni network, its abundant student groups, its one-of-a-kind skill-building opportunities that include pro bono projects and clinics and fellowships, perhaps its nexus to the greatest city on earth and the greatest borough in that city. So what can you expect from your time in law school? Even if those of us who've been through it might have been able to give you a pretty complete picture in the before time, 2020 is a year unlike any other, and everything has changed. But there are some things that will naturally remain unchanged. Presumably, everyone has already told you how much you're going to be reading. Reading and writing are certainly core competencies for lawyers, and no doubt, you'll be doing a lot of both. Side note, if you love to read or write for your own pleasure, don't worry. Many of us do manage to continue to enjoy them both during law school and beyond. You probably have gotten more advice than you'd like about things like notes, outlines, briefing, studying for exams. I always like to get off the beaten path a little bit, and so I have a few pieces of advice or insight that I want to offer that I wish someone had offered me on my way into this life-changing experience of law school. Number one, first, most importantly, listen. Listen to your professors, listen to your classmates. Listen to understand and to know rather than to rebut or to respond. You may never need to respond to what you hear, but supposing you do, your response will certainly have profited from your listening well. Listen to the lawyers who supervise you during your internships and beyond. Listen to the clients and the colleagues that you assist. So many people focus all the time on talking and writing, even thinking like a lawyer. Not nearly enough of us focus on what it might mean to listen like one. Second, be well first. When I say this, I mean, the basics. Take good care of yourself. Hydrate. Eat real meals. Rest and de-stress. Pay attention to what your body is telling you. Move your body and stay active. Keep doing the things you love. Stay in touch with the people you love. Number three, don't be afraid to seek out what you need. Ask questions, seek out assistance, find your people, talk to them about what you don't understand, set boundaries for yourself. All of this will serve you really well. Number four, relate. The single greatest resource in any law school community, any community anywhere really, is its people. And the Brooklyn Law School community is definitely full of great people. Some will tell you to network, you absolutely should. But when you can, make it more than networking. Make it relating. Be present, be yourself. This is how people will remember you. Number five, be open. You never know what you're going to encounter. So try not to assume too much about what you have yet to come upon. And finally, number 6, enjoy yourself. It is possible, and oh, how it will impact your experience in school. When I was asked to deliver these remarks, I felt so excited because I had the absolute best time in law school of anybody that I know. I came in with this plan, very grand, to keep a super low profile, be very academic, never look up from the case books, and I actually did basically the opposite. You know, I did my studies, I did okay, but you know, I joined everything. I jumped at so many chances to participate. I got to know so many people. You know, I bit off more than I could chew, and I had to find the humility to walk things back. What I discovered in there, though, was the chance to not just learn from my courses, but from the whole experience, to learn how to be the kind of lawyer I really wanted to be, and to connect with the others who would teach me more about how to get there. I struggled too, make no mistake. I was so disappointed with my first semester grades. During my second year, life intervened in this way, and I faced challenges in other areas of my personal life that were so devastating. But I found that I could find so much of what I needed both in myself and in reaching out to my classmates and the faculty and other people in my life for help. And boy, did people show up for me. In my last year, right before two months before graduation, my appendix fell apart and I spent a week in the hospital, and I would not have gotten through that semester without support from my classmates, faculty members, you know, folks around me. We all need that. And we all face those kind of struggles. You know, after that, I moved 3 times during the last couple of years of law school. I didn't, you know, to be totally honest with you, I wasn't sure whether to say this to you guys, but I didn't pass the bar my first time around because I had so much going on in life. But guess what? I threw myself at it. I passed it the second time. And I mean, honestly, I have my dream job today. I have the dream job that you know, 20 years ago, if I had made up a perfect job for myself, I have it now. You know, I get to work in the most fascinating and impactful areas of the law. And no way I could have gotten to where I am without the support of the amazing people around me at Brooklyn Law School. So, you know, you will find your people too. And when you can, just enjoy it. You know, today I am where I am because of the support, because of perseverance, because of dedication, plenty of hard work, plenty of bouncing up after a mistake. But the truest thing I can name is that the people that I connected with in the law school community have held me and made all this possible. And so it's a joy, it's a pleasure to give back. And it's such an exciting moment to be here with you all tonight and welcome you to this experience that will absolutely change your life. So congratulations, and can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you so much, Erica. So, entering class of 2020, you may be interested in knowing some things about yourselves. So, we know that those joining you this evening are your classmates, but also potentially your colleagues, your support group, your legal network, your mentor, even your spouse or partner. You're among the most accomplished, diverse, and inspiring groups of students who bring years of dedication, passion, and initiative to our community. In the coming years, you will learn that your fellow students are your greatest assets here at Brooklyn Law School. So a little bit of advice for now. Take the time, as Erica said, to forge new connections, to challenge yourself intellectually, to become immersed in all the educational, legal, and cultural opportunities that will present themselves to you during your tenure here. The 2020 entering JD class is comprised of 414 students who were selected from more than 4,000 applicants from around the world. 381 of you have enrolled in the 3-year program. 33 have enrolled in the extended 4-year program. And joining the incoming JD students are 16 new second-year students who have transferred this year to Brooklyn Law School. Our campus is proud to stand at the frontier of a broad global community. This year, we welcome 11 new LLM students who come to us from 7 countries, including Albania, Dominican Republic, Greece, Romania, Russia, and Spain. All of them hold law degrees in their home country and have come here to study alongside you JD students. In the first year JD class alone, Your birthplaces span 5 continents, 26 countries, and 32 US states. 91 of you, 22% of the incoming class, are first-generation Americans. You speak 36 languages and dialects other than English, ranging from Cantonese to Italian to Ukrainian. 70 of you speak at least 3 languages. 52 of you reside in the center of the universe, otherwise known as Brooklyn. Some more statistics. The class median age is 24. The youngest is 20 and the oldest is 51. For the student who is 20, remember that using a fake ID is a misdemeanor and you will have to report it to the Character and Fitness Committee. No matter what your age though, we're always pleased to see students follow in the footsteps of family members who are graduates of Brooklyn Law School. Tonight, we welcome 30 such students, and with over 23,000 alumni, that is not surprising. All of you are here because we know that you're prepared to excel academically, both in the classroom and in the field through clinics, externships, internships, and pro bono work. Collectively, you graduated from 174 colleges and universities, having pursued 82 different academic majors. 45 of you have earned postgraduate degrees, including MAs, MBAs, MFAs, and PhDs. Here's some fascinating examples of work you've done. Studied China's global infrastructure development strategy, known as the Belt and Road Initiative. Managed a team of undergraduate students working for the Nature Conservancy to assess the viability of developing a comprehensive view of New York City's natural resources. Examined the power of language in Virgil's 8th Eclogue, and considered the feasibility and efficacy of opt-out organ donations in the United States. Many of you come to Brooklyn having already achieved significant career success. You've held such impressive positions as senior social worker at a major New York City hospital, economic consultant at Ernst & Young, senior client solutions manager at Facebook, talent coordinator at Saturday Night Live, senior administrator at Sotheby's Auction House, and New York State Assembly member. You're not only intellectually and professionally impressive, you are accomplished artists and athletes. You can call it Brooklyn's Got Talent. Among you today are several varsity athletes, a cappella singers, trumpet, trombone, clarinet, and guitar players, a concert pianist, a professional violinist, a record producer and sound engineer, photographers, poets, an oil painter, an equestrian, ballerinas and hip hop dancers, theater and television actors, marathoners, masters of archery, and students of Taekwondo. Public service and working for the greater good have been part of Brooklyn Law School's mission since our founding more than a century ago. Now you will carry on and add to this tradition. Many of you have done truly inspiring volunteer work to give back to your communities and the world, including joining the Peace Corps in Mozambique and Ecuador, supporting arts and education nonprofits, counseling callers on suicide prevention hotlines, working with community food banks in several US cities, coaching Special Olympics teams and athletes, among many other examples. We look forward to seeing you apply this dedication and compassion as law students and in your future careers as lawyers. Others of you have already worked for public interest in government organizations, including a political strategy leader for a national political action organization focusing on climate change, a caseworker for a leading nonprofit service and support provider to California's LGBTQ+ community, a data analyst for the New York State Office of the Attorney General, a labor relations specialist at the New York City Department of Education, and several teachers and tutors in AmeriCorps programs all across the country. I've also noticed that many of you are former bartenders, mixologists, and nightlife promoters. I have written down your names for the faculty in case one of us needs to hire a student worker. You have so many stories, experiences, and talents. All in all, we are astonished by this extraordinary group of students who have traveled many different paths to arrive at this singular point tonight. Can you figure out who is who? You'll have the next 1 to 4 years to figure it out, as you become classmates, lifelong friends, and members of our incredible Brooklyn Law School community. I want to take a moment now to introduce our last speaker of the night, our Dean, Michael Cahill. Michael Cahill became President and Dean of Brooklyn Law School on July 1st, 2019, returning from Rutgers Law School, where he had been co-dean and professor of law. Before departing in 2016 to assume the Rutgers deanship, he was a member of the Brooklyn Law School faculty for over 13 years. Dean Cahill also served Brooklyn Law School as Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and as Vice Dean. Dean Cahill's scholarship focuses primarily on criminal law, though he has also written about and taught courses in health law and policy. His criminal law work includes 3 books written with Paul H. Robinson, the general 1-volume treatise, Criminal Law, the student casebook, Criminal Law, Case Studies and Controversies with Shima Bowman, and Law Without Justice. Dean Cahill's work has also appeared in numerous law journals. Dean Cahill received his JD magna cum laude and MPP degrees from the University of Michigan and his BA from Yale University. After graduating from law school, where he was a note editor for the Michigan Law Review, he served as a law clerk to Judge James B. Loken of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. He then was involved as staff director and consultant, respectively, for major criminal code reform projects in the states of Illinois and Kentucky. Some of you will have him for criminal law this fall. Dean?
Thank you so much, Christina. Of course, having been dean for just over a year, last year at this time, I was attending my first convocation as dean of Brooklyn Law School. This year seems different. Of course, law school is going to be different too, and I'm sure some of you are wondering what that experience is going to be like. Some of you may even be wondering if you made the right decision to go to law school at this time. I'd like to take the next few minutes to explain to you why I think right now is a great time to go to law school. As Professor Pasquale just said, law is a profession, not just an occupation. And our current shared situation highlights 3 central features of that profession that you are about to enter. 3 features that indicate why this is a moment for law and for lawyers. First, the law is a service profession. The role of the lawyer is to take on and advance other people's interests. Lawyers are imbued with what we call a fiduciary duty to place the needs and priorities of their clients above their own. That perspective is critical in this moment of crisis, when the ethical norm governing our profession has become a moral demand of citizenship. Recent days have shown us that our progress as a society demands a reckoning with racial injustice and attention to Black lives, not because they matter more, but because for so long they've been treated as if they matter less. Recent days have also shown that our shared survival literally depends on our willingness to wear masks and take various other precautions, not only for our health, but for everyone else's. We live in a moment that calls even more than usual for recognizing and promoting the needs of other people, which means we live in a moment for lawyers. Second, law is a relational profession. It exists to govern human interactions, and its practice consists of human interactions. That remains true even at times like this, when those interactions must occur at a distance. And while we have the obvious misfortune to be living through an unparalleled health crisis that requires physical distance between us, we also have the incredible good fortune to be living in an era where technology can bridge that distance and enable us to simulate or recreate many of the human connections that the virus has severed. When I was in law school, back in the late 20th century, when many of you were busy being born, along with the internet and cell phones, in that dark, distant time, a gathering of the kind that we're having right now would have been impossible. In fact, it would have been almost literally unimaginable. The idea that we could be doing it 20 years later would have seemed like a fantasy. Today, we have instant access to vast stores of information and the means to engage in broad, far-reaching, and immediate communications just like this one. The challenge that we face is to make sure that communication is not only immediate, but that it remains intimate and conducted in a way that adds warmth to what can be a cold medium. We're living, in other words, in a moment that requires expertise in maintaining and strengthening human and social connections. And that means that we're living in a moment for lawyers. Third, and perhaps most important, in addition to being a profession of service and a profession of social interaction, law, as Professor Pasquale alluded, is a profession of hope. Our fundamental mission as lawyers is to promote and pursue justice. And that commitment requires, in turn, that we must first believe in justice. That is to say, we must believe that we hold it in our collective power to create a society that is more fair, more harmonious, more humane. To be sure, this is not a blind faith. We are by no means naive as lawyers about the many and profound injustices that surround us. But crucially, as lawyers, we see injustice not as cause for despair, but as a call to action. We recognize that, in the words of civil rights lawyer Bryan Stevenson, hope is the enemy of injustice. And believe me, he ought to know. Hope, as he tells us, is the lawyer's superpower, and it is needed most when things look most hopeless. We are living in a moment that demands hope, which means we are living in a moment that demands lawyers. And as you take the first steps to becoming lawyers, there is no better place for you to do so, even if only virtually, than Brooklyn Law School. These last few months have re-emphasized what has always been the case, exactly as Erica just said. What defines a school's identity and what makes a school great is not its physical resources, but its people. And you'll find that our people, our faculty, our staff, our support workers, our graduates, and your fellow students are capable, dedicated, passionate, welcoming, and thoughtful. We, as a community, are committed to taking full advantage of our technological and human resources to give you a great education. And as all of the other speakers have said, I strongly encourage you to take advantage of us as resources. Reach out to us. And more importantly, reach out to other students who, as the others have said, are among our and your most valuable assets. Just this summer, while they were dealing with numerous professional and personal obligations that were leading them in a variety of different directions, a group of your predecessors, who are now upper-class students, affirmatively and proactively reached out to me and to other administrators because they wanted to revamp our program of peer-to-peer student advising. This is a massive project, and they have taken it on for one reason only, because they want to help you. These are people who understand the lawyer's professional calling to service, to building relationships, to hope, and to actions that turn hope into reality. Today, you join them. You join us, and we are delighted to have you. Welcome to the law, and welcome to Brooklyn Law School. And joining me in welcoming you, I'd like to invite my colleagues on the faculty to turn their cameras on so that they, like I, can welcome you to Brooklyn Law School.
I can introduce them all for a moment. I'm going to do it based on the order in which I see people. So give a little wave. So of course we have Frank Pasquale teaching health law, copyright law. We have Neil Cohen, who teaches Secure Transactions and Contracts Law, Legal Writing Professor Joy Kanwar, Constitutional Law and Criminal Procedure Professor Susan Herman, Legal Writing Professor Carrie Teicher, Legal Writing Director Heidi Brown, the head of our clinic on innovation, Jonathan Askin, Immigration Law and Civil Procedure Professor Mary Ellen Fullerton, Legal Writing Professor Aisha Ames, clinician Debbie Bechtel of Real Estate, Ted Jenger, who teaches commercial law, contracts, and torts, Michael Gerber, bankruptcy and contracts, Brian Lee, property and intellectual property, Gabby Marshall, teaching legal writing, our Dean of Inclusion and Diversity, Karen Porter, and head of our health law clinic, Legal Writing Professor Meg Holzer, Legal Writing Professor Catherine Dubois, Civil Procedure and Professional Responsibility Professor Jane Ressler, Clayton Steele teaching legal writing, our Director of the Library, Janet Cinder, one of our newest professors, Will Codrington, teaching election law and constitutional law, another one of our newest professors, Vijay Raghavan, teaching consumer protection law and contracts, Liz Schneider, teaching classes in women in the law and civil procedure, Cecilia Silver, legal writing professor, Flora Midwood, our Assistant Director of Academic Success, Cynthia Godso, teaching family law, children in the law, and criminal law. Thank you all for making yourselves visible. You will get to know these professors and others during your 1, 3, or 4 years here. And until then, we will see you tomorrow at Introduction to the Study of Law, where we're going to kick this off. So thank you so much for coming, and we're going to have a great semester.